Imagine a world where hate has become louder than kindness, where people fight over color, language, and status, and compassion feels like a forgotten language. Now, imagine a man who walked the earth over 1,400 years ago, who changed that world not with armies or wealth, but with mercy, justice, and love. A man who taught humanity what it truly means to be human, Muhammad. The prophet embodied equality and compassion in a time when society was divided by race, wealth, and status. He saw no difference between an Arab and a non-Arab, a rich man or a slave. His companions came from every background: Bilal, a former slave; Salman, a Persian; Suhaib, a Roman, yet all stood shoulder to shoulder in prayer. He taught that true value lies not in skin color, lineage, or possessions, but in the purity of one's heart and deeds. His compassion extended even to those who opposed him, to animals, and to the environment around him. He reminded humanity that kindness is not a favor, it's a responsibility. By living this message every day, he showed that equality is not just a concept to preach, but a way to live, to see every human being as a soul created by the same Creator. When the prophet entered Makkah as a victor after years of persecution, torture, and exile, the world expected revenge. Yet he stood before those who had once tried to destroy him and said, "Go, you are free." That single act redefined power. It wasn't about crushing your enemies, but about conquering your ego. His forgiveness wasn't weakness. It was strength that came from mercy and self-control. He understood that hatred only multiplies darkness, while forgiveness brings light and healing. Even when insulted or harmed, he responded with calmness and prayer, not anger. His life showed that true greatness lies not in holding grudges, but in releasing them, that a heart filled with forgiveness is far stronger than one consumed by revenge. His mercy wasn't selective, it reached friend and foe alike, setting the highest example of humanity the world has ever witnessed. The prophet taught that true humanity shines in the smallest actions that often go unnoticed. He said a smile as charity, reminding people that kindness doesn't need wealth, it needs heart. He would feed the hungry, visit the sick, comfort the grieving, and show love to children and respect to the elderly. Once he saw a woman working hard in her home and helped her without hesitation. Another time he stopped to comfort a child crying over a lost pet. Even when people wronged him, he responded with gentleness and patience. His compassion wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet, consistent, and real. He turned everyday moments into opportunities to serve and uplift others. Through his example, he showed that being human isn't proven in grand gestures, but in how you treat those who can offer you nothing in return. That's where true goodness lives. The prophet taught that true humanity shines in the smallest actions that often go unnoticed. He said a smile as charity, reminding people that kindness doesn't need wealth, it needs heart. He would feed the hungry, visit the sick, comfort the grieving, and show love to children and respect to the elderly. Once he saw a woman working hard in her home and helped her without hesitation. Another time he stopped to comfort a child crying over a lost pet. Even when people wronged him, he responded with gentleness and patience. His compassion wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet, consistent, and real. He turned everyday moments into opportunities to serve and uplift others. Through his example, he showed that being human isn't proven in grand gestures, but in how you treat those who can offer you nothing in return. That's where true goodness lives. The prophet stood for justice even when the truth was against those closest to him. He didn't bend principles to please people or gain power. When a noble woman from a respected tribe committed theft, and others suggested she be spared punishment, he declared that justice must be equal for all, rich or poor. His sense of fairness came from his deep connection with Allah and his belief that society can only thrive when justice prevails. He defended the rights of the weak, the poor and the oppressed, often standing between them and those who sought to exploit them. He taught that silence in the face of injustice is itself a form of injustice. For him, truth was not negotiable. It was sacred. His courage to speak out, even in times of danger, reminds humanity that real strength lies in standing firm for what is right. At a time when women were denied dignity and voice, the prophet transformed the way society viewed them. He taught that paradise lies beneath a mother's feet, giving motherhood the highest honor. He cherished his daughters, treating them with tenderness and pride, saying that whoever raises daughters with kindness will be close to him in paradise. He stood against traditions that devalued women and emphasized their spiritual and moral equality to men. He helped in household work, showing that respect begins at home. With his wives, he displayed affection, patience, and understanding, setting an example of partnership built on mercy. He reminded his followers that the best among them are those who treat their families well. His teachings were not mere words. They reshaped generations, proving that the foundation of a just and compassionate society begins with respecting, protecting, and uplifting women in every role they hold. The Prophet showed that peace is not the absence of conflict, but the victory of self-control over anger. He lived in an environment full of hostility. Yet he always chose dialogue over violence and forgiveness over pride. When people insulted him, he responded with calmness, often praying for their guidance instead of revenge. He taught that true strength lies not in overpowering others, but in mastering one's emotions. Even in war, he set rules of compassion: never harm the innocent, never destroy crops, and never seek bloodshed without reason. His patience during years of oppression was a lesson that peace is built through restraint, empathy, and wisdom. He created harmony between tribes that once hated each other and turned enemies into allies through mercy and understanding. His entire life was a reflection of how inner peace leads to outer peace, and how tolerance transforms hearts. As we come to the end of this journey through the life and message of the Prophet Muhammad, one truth shines above all: humanity is not about what we claim, but how we live. His life was a living example of mercy in the face of hatred, justice in times of corruption, and peace in moments of chaos. He taught us that greatness lies not in power, but in patience, not in wealth, but in kindness, and not in dominance, but in humility. If we truly wish to follow his path, we must carry his message beyond words, into our actions, our choices, and our treatment of others. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs more compassion, more understanding, and more hearts guided by his light. So as you leave today, take with you his message to forgive, to love, and to serve humanity. May Allah guide us all to live with the same mercy and strength that defined his blessed life. Thank you for listening with an open heart. May your journey ahead be filled with peace, purpose, and the courage to spread goodness wherever you go. Good luck, and may Allah bless you always.